So despite what this stack of smartphones sat beside me might suggest, the number of stock Android smartphones is actually pretty damn small right now. Most manufacturers insist on slapping their own launcher, like Samsung's One UI or Xiaomi's MIUI, on top of Google's OS to jazzify it and make the software more their own. Outside of Google's Pixel blowers, you can snap for yourself a stock Android handset from Motorola and Nokia, and not much more to be honest. But that's still a reasonable selection of smartphones covering the full price range from budget to premium. So here's my pick of the best stock Android smartphones you can bag yourself in 2022. Spoiler alert, quite a lot of them have been plonked here right next to me. And for more on the latest and greatest tech, please do subscribe and ding that notifications bell. Cheers! Now your first choice when it comes to stock Android smartphones should always be Google's own Pixel blowers. And right now in the UK, you've got a choice of three. The smallest and the cheapest by far is the Pixel 4a. It'll cost you 350 quid. Otherwise, if you've got a bit more scratch in the bank, you can upgrade to the Pixel 6 for £600 or the Pixel 6 Pro for £750. Most people will be perfectly happy with the Pixel 4a, which boasts the best camera tech at this sort of price point, so you can point and shoot and get great looking pics day or night. And Google has also kicked that tiresome trend of absolutely whopping great huge smartphones right in the crotch, because the Pixel 4a is a pocket pleasing 5.8 inches. So it's a joy to use one-handed, especially when you've got distressingly stumpy fingers like my good self. Packed into that dinky plastic frame is the Snapdragon 730G, which handles everything, including light gaming, without a grumble. The OLED screen is a stunner, and yeah, it is quite small, but I'll still happily watch a whole flick on this thing. And because this is a Google blower, you've got that gorgeous stock Android vibe with timely updates for the foreseeable as well, which is definitely a big bonus. You've also got a headphone jack and NFC for your Google Pay shenanigans, but sadly there is no micro SD memory card support to expand the onboard storage, unlike a lot of smartphones at this sort of budget price point. If you've got a bit more cash and you want Google's latest camera tech plus proper future proofing as far as updates go, well, you're going to want to spunk more cash on those fresh new flagships. These upgrade the primary camera sensor to a 50 megapixel effort, capable of capturing even more natural looking shots at any time of day, while the Pro adds in a telephoto shooter. These Pixel 6 flagship blowers run off of Google's fresh new Tensor chipset, and that powers all kinds of smart new Android features which are exclusive to the Pixels. Gaming grunt isn't quite as impressive as some rivals, and the standard Pixel 6 does heat up a bit under duress, but the Pro model can happily handle a good bit of Genshin on that top detail settings. As for the media chops, well, these flagships sport some stunning AMOLED screen tech, topping off at 90Hz on the Pixel 6 and improving the refresh range on the Pro, so it scales from almost static to 120Hz. And these flagships also pack in wireless charging support, plus a proper bit of water resistance. But it's not all good news sadly, because the Pixel 6 smartphones also skip out on the headphone jack. Nipple secretions. Anyway, I've already fully reviewed all of Google's blowers that you can bag yourself in Blighty right now, so go check those out if you're not already bored of me banging on about these things. A respectable alternative to those Pixel phones is the Nokia 8.3, as finally seen in the incredibly tardy No Time to Die, which eventually hit cinemas almost 2 years after the phone was actually launched. This 6.8-inch beast is a proper pocket filler, and it weighs a meaty 220 grams. So at least if Mr. Bond runs out of bullets, he can just hoy this thing at the baddies and put their lights right out. Good news then that this aluminium frame is tough as nails and the back end is Gorilla Glass. The Nokia 8.3 5G has already been updated to Android 11, and hopefully it should get that fresh new Android 12 update sooner rather than later. You've still got a couple of years of security updates for this bad boy too. And the only real tinkering on Nokia's part is to add a bit of face recognition support in there as well to back up the highly dependable and reliable edge-mounted fingerprint sensor. That mighty 6.81-inch pure display panel is built for entertainment, and not just because it's almost the size of a friggin' cinema screen. It is IPS tech sadly, not OLED like many of the Nokia 8.3's mid-range rivals, but colours are reasonably poppy, it's nice and bright, and that Full HD Plus resolution helps to keep visuals sharp. You also have an always-on HDR feature which can dynamically enhance contrasting colours when you are watching standard SDR video, which fair play does work a charm. And you've also got full expandable storage to carry around lots of movies, games and other bits. A Snapdragon 765G chipset runs the show, and it still copes well with even quite demanding gaming fare, while the Nokia 8.3's 4500mAh battery will happily keep you going all day long, even with plenty of screen on time. And as usual, manufacturer HMD Global teamed up with optics expert Zeiss for the Nokia 8.3's camera tech. I've actually done a full review of that camera as well, so go check that out for all you need to know. And if your stacks aren't quite fat enough for that Nokia 8.3 5G, well, maybe check out the Nokia 5.4 instead, which still offers a slick stock Android experience for around 150 quid. Thankfully, still offers a slick stock Android experience, and it's just a fun little everyday blower. This 6.4-inch smartphone suffers from standard Nokia tropes like that fat lip, harbouring some pointless branding, plus the always annoying assistant button. But this dusk model is rather fetching in a moody, oh god, isn't everything a bit shit kind of way. As with the Nokia 8.3 flagship-y style smartphone, you've once again got an update to Android 11 on here, with a guaranteed update to the fresh new Android 12 hopefully coming soon, plus the reassurance of those regular security updates. You've got NFC support here in the UK and dual SIM support, plus a separate micro SD slot to expand the storage. Meanwhile, yeah, that IPS screen is a mere 720p panel, but it's fine for streaming a bit of YouTube or browsing the old internet. Power and proceedings is the Snapdragon 662, and this is fine for simple gaming at a push, while the 4000 mAh battery is near impossible to drain in a single day unless you really punish this thing. And that 48 megapixel primary camera sensor is alright for your everyday pics, but the video recording was a bit of a hot mess, lots of focal pop and other issues as well. So if you want a smartphone to shoot lots of cute little videos of your kiddie winks or what have you, I'd say look elsewhere. And if you happen to like a bit of rough, well, Nokia also happens to have spaffed out one of the double hottest smartphones of 2021, the Nokia XR20. Very catchy name there, guys. This £399 beefcake sports a 3D nano-textured rear end with a drop-resistant Gorilla Glass Victus screen up front. It's passed military standard 810H testing, so it can survive falls of almost 2 meters, as well as extreme temperatures and humidity, while the IP68 water resistance means you can just chuck it in a swimming pool for a bit of a laugh. You've got that usual glorious stock Android experience on here, plus HMD Global is offering 3 years of OS updates and 4 years of security updates, so you are well and truly covered for the foreseeable. And once again, manufacturer HMD Global has done very little tinkering with that stock Android experience. You basically got Face Unlock to back up the edge-mounted fingerprint sensor, and that's pretty much it. You've got expandable storage, you've got a 6.67-inch Full HD Plus display, a 4630 mAh battery with wireless charging support, and yet another Zeiss branded camera. But be warned, the performance here is decidedly limited, to put it mildly, thanks to the super basic Snapdragon 480 chipset that runs the show. And that is a real shame because despite the fact that it's an absolute brick of a smartphone, there'd be a lot to recommend here if it wasn't for that slightly janky performance. But anyway, my full Nokia XR20 review is live right now, so go check that out if you're intrigued. But if your pockets happen to be absolutely stuffed full of lovely cash right now and you want to just dispose of a huge great wodge of it, well, definitely check out Motorola's super snazzy and super bendy Moto RAZR 5G. This reimagining of the classic flip phone sports a 6.2-inch OLED screen which can fold in half with next to zero creasing. And when it's all closed up, the Moto RAZR 5G is ridiculously tiny, so you can shove it anywhere you like, most bodily orifices actually included, but not medically sanctioned. And with the teensy secondary display, you can check your notifications and even use your apps without having to unfurl this clever wee chappy. The first RAZR reboot actually came out in 2019. Remember 2019? When things were still a bit crap, but frankly I would take a bit crap right now. And that original Moto RAZR bendy phone was a bit of a mixed bag to say the least, but Motorola, bless them, they went back to the drawing board and spruced up the specs for the 5G model. So now power is provided by a Snapdragon 765 chipset backed by 8 gigs of RAM, and you've got an improved 48 megapixel camera too. Battery life is still a bit pants, sadly, so you can't go heavy on this thing unless you're near a plug socket. Plus, yeah, the RAZR also has an annoying notch that's not quite as bad as the iPhones, but still pretty cack. And if you're not too bothered about having a bendy phone, or basically you want to just step down the price a little bit, well, your next option is the Moto Edge 20 series. And this is a trio of smartphones released in 2021 that will cost you anywhere from between £300 to 650 quid. The Moto Edge 20 Lite is the cheapest of the three, but it will suit everyday users with its MediaTek Dimensity 720 performance, its mighty 5000 mAh battery given all-day action on a single charge, and 128 gigs of storage. I also love the 6.7-inch OLED screen with 10-bit color, HDR10 Plus support and 90Hz refresh. The standard Moto Edge 20 also serves up a 6.7-inch OLED, this time boosting the refresh to an impressive 144Hz. Performance is also given a kick up the arse with a Snapdragon 778G on board, while the smaller 4000mAh battery still proved up to the task of a long day on the road. And the reason it's smaller is because of that drop-dead gorgeous super skinny design. Yum. Meanwhile, the Pro model makes several improvements for extra scratch, including doubling up that storage and upgrading to the faster UFS 3.1 format. Gamers will delight at the Snapdragon 870 chipset with 12GB of memory on board, rather than the standard 8 on its siblings. And as for the camera tech, all three Edge 20 smartphones serve up a 108MP primary shooter with an optical zoom lens on that standard and Pro model. And if you happen to be tempted, you can see my unboxing videos with all three of these Moto blowers right here on TechSpert, as well as my full in-depth review of that Pro version. Now, another mid-range Motorola option that will cost you £400 that's literally just come out just before I shot this video is the Moto G200, which will cost you 399 quid. The Moto G200 boosts the performance even beyond that of the Moto Edge 20 Pro with its Snapdragon 888 Plus chipset. And I've only really seen this on dedicated gaming smartphones here in the UK, although unfortunately the Moto G200 lacks the cooling technology of said phones, so if you're a hardcore gamer, you might want to look to those instead. Still, the Moto G200 does sport a 108MP primary camera sensor again, and it is an absolute doozy, belting out great looking photos all times of day and night. Unfortunately, the Moto G200 does sport a standard IPS screen rather than the OLED efforts you'll find on the Edge 20 devices, so yeah, unfortunately it lacks the visual flair that you get there, and also there's no headphone jack and a few other little complaints here and there. You can still check out my full in-depth Moto G200 review that is live right now though if you are tempted. And of course, if your stacks aren't quite fat enough for that Moto G200 or the Edge 20 devices, well, Motorola has plenty of more budget-friendly options as well, mostly in the G series such as the Moto G31, which again came out around the same time as that G200. As far as looks go, the Moto G31 sure ain't anything special. Like most budget phones, this is another plastic blower offering little in the way of frills or flair, although it is at least splash resistant if you have yourself a bit of an accident. You once again get that lovely stock Android experience, but unlike Nokia, Motorola has chucked a few extra bonus features on top of there, including lots of gesture support like this badass double karate chop effort to turn on the torch. The 6.4-inch OLED screen is a rare sight at this price point, and while it's not particularly bright, it does churn out gorgeous visuals. Performance is quite basic with a Helio G85 on board backed by just 4GB of RAM, so the Moto G31 can just about handle lighter gaming titles such as Call of Duty, but everyday running is fine enough. That 5000mAh battery will keep you going all day long, no worries, helped along by the general energy efficiency of that Helio chipset, and meanwhile the camera tech is perfectly alright. The 50MP primary sensor typically struggles in stronger low light like most of its budget rivals, but otherwise it can snap some decent looking pics of the fam, although the video mode does top off at Full HD resolution. And all of the sort of major features that we'd hope for and expect in a smartphone are present and correct in the Moto G31, including a good bit of NFC for your contactless payments, you've got microSD support to expand the storage, and a tasty bit of headphone jack action too. Overall, it's a pretty decent package for that budget price. And I've still got lots of love for slightly older Motorola handsets as well, like the Moto G9 Plus. But bear in mind, if you are getting yourself a Motorola blower, that they tend to only offer one OS update at most, sometimes two for the more flagshipy smartphones. And also the security updates, they're not exactly quite as super nippy as what you would get with some rival manufacturers like, of course, Google and Nokia. So anyway, that's my pick of the best stock Android smartphones that you can grab yourself right now as we're hitting 2022. But did I miss out your own personal favorites? Possibly because I haven't had a chance to actually personally review them. Well, definitely clue me in by banging down in the comments below. Banging down? Just write a comment, don't bang or do anything like that. As I say, full unboxings and reviews of most of these smartphones live are right here on TechSpert, and for more on the latest and greatest tech, please do poke subscribe, ding that notifications bell, and have yourselves a bloody lovely rest of the week. Cheers everyone, love you!